Hello. Hey guys. Welcome to another episode of It's That Deep. I hope you're well. I hope you're feeling good. I'm feeling great, actually. I'm feeling cozy. This episode is what I like to call the Toolbox episode. And I kind of want us to leave with more of a question, right? Like what can we add to our toolbox, or what's currently in our toolbox? What can we take out of our toolbox? That kind of thing. And so that's why we're here. That's what we're going to have today. I've been thinking about the word soothe. So SOOTHE, soothe, and the many ways that we kind of learn to calm ourselves, to soothe our pain, to ease out of our pain and whatnot, right? There was a time I depended heavily on people to kind of navigate or regulate my emotions for me. Immediately something happened. I had to talk to someone about it. I had to call my friend. I literally had to talk to someone. If nobody was available to pick up, it felt like emotionally I was losing my mind. And I had to kind of realize that in a way that was unhealthy, because not anyone and everyone is a safe space, right? Not everyone has the capacity to be a safe space for you. Not everyone knows how to handle you well in those kind of situations. And when the safe people are not available, you shouldn't feel like your world is ending. I was reading a book. Guys, I've been in my reading era. I've been reading quite a bit, but I was reading this book, Finding Your People, and I cannot recommend this book enough. We're going to be referring to this book in other episodes, so let's just get into it. There's a part of this, book that I want to read out. It says, no one teaches us how to find power in vulnerability, how to build intimacy, how to grow as a person, or how to grieve. Although the writer is talking about this in relation to your friendships and relationships, it made me think of ways that it comes into play in our relationship with ourselves, right? No one teaches you that you also have to learn to be vulnerable with yourself. You also have to learn to build intimacy with yourself. You have to learn to exist with yourself, how to regulate your emotions. We just kind of exist with our minds and our bodies, but we just abandon aspects of us that helps us track our growth. And I think emotionally is one of the ways that we can track how we're growing as an adult or as humans, right? Don't get me wrong. Okay, I think that we need people. It's important that we do not fall into this trap of you need to rely solely on yourself. And that's why balance is important. I truly believe that balance comes with you having a relationship with Christ. That's what has worked for me. That's what is even getting me to this point to talk about this. When we're thinking of the toolbox, right? If the only thing you can think of right now in your toolbox is, oh yeah, in a state of distress, I have to call my best friend immediately. I have to call my sister immediately. I want us to ask ourselves, how can we explore other options? How can we have a range? Different situations call for different tools, right? I love talking about stuff with my safe people. I also know that not everyone can handle me at different stages or different situations. It also helps me to kind of ground myself and actually know helps me to be able to talk about what's going on when I'm calmer. There are negative ways that we cope. There are negative ways that we soothe ourselves, but we need to have a healthy range of tools that we're using to soothe. The bigger thing I try to ask myself is, how can I practice putting God first? Because that's something that we talk about in church or in the Christian faith. Sometimes I think we don't talk about it in an emotional way, where that's the first person that we talk to when we're struggling. That's the first person that we communicate with. That's the first thing that we go to. That's how we can also put into practice that communication and that act of putting God first. How are you communicating with the Holy Spirit? The one that is supposed to actually comfort you, the one that's supposed to help you. If you say that you have a relationship, what is your relationship like if you're constantly running to other people? I'm learning that avoidance is something that makes your feeling more powerful than the situation. When we're trying to soothe the feeling enough so that you can tolerate it and think through what you are feeling and why, which reduces the power of the feeling in itself, right? Because it's a feeling, it's not true. I wanted to share some things that I found helpful, and I have them on my iPad. So yeah, one thing I do is obviously I pray, and honestly, this is not even something I'm trying to say to sound cliche. I don't know what I would be without talking to God, because I've seen how people have failed me. I've seen how God has actually never not held space for me. Like, it's evident. Okay, so if I know that there's someone that is there that has never given me any reason to doubt, why would I constantly? I just had to come to that realization, hey, I have this amazing option here. This person that is treating me really well, that has given me all the, given me the Holy Spirit, that gives me worship, gives me space to cry and everything, and is there to comfort me. Why would I just constantly go the other way? Yes, it gets frustrating where I'm not getting any information immediately. It's not like I'm saying A and God's like, yeah, so da. It's annoying because I would like that. However, there are times where he does, and it's so mind-blowing. And then he tells me, hey, talk to this person. There's a name, go and talk to it. And I'm always just, it's always on point. And I talk to that person, I'm like, yes, I knew. I'm just so grateful that God told me to talk to you. And there's that peace, right? How amazing is that? So for me, yeah, prayer is something that and again, I want to ask, actually, let's go back a little bit and ask ourselves, when I say prayer, what does that mean for you? Ask yourself, what image comes to your mind? Is the first thing you are kneeling and kabashing if you're not Nigerian. It's you have this vigor and you're praying and you're, it's like warfare. Is that what comes to your mind, or are you just having a conversation? I want you to answer that question, because I think that sometimes when we say prayer, it sounds a bit more complicated than it actually is. It is just talking. It is just having a conversation. I pray that whatever situation you find yourself in, no matter how disruptive it is, I pray that that disruption carries you to Jesus. That's my prayer. That if any kind of confusion comes your way, I pray that that confusion carries you back to your Father, carries you back to Jesus. Another thing I try to do is breathing. I do breathing exercises. If you struggle with anxiety, breathing exercises really help me. It helps me catch up with my brain. Sometimes my brain is just doing its own thing, and I'm having to okay, it is not as bad as your brain is telling you it's bad. You just need to breathe. Sometimes I talk to myself. I think I talked about this before in previous episodes, but it's another way of me journaling. So we'll get into journaling, but I create videos and I just talk to myself, and I ask I talk about how I'm feeling and what I'm feeling and the different emotions. I might talk for 15 minutes and I've made no sense at all, but I've been able to catch up with myself. It gives me a different perspective. I don't know if anyone has found this helpful, but I find that helpful so much. Obviously, I'm going to talk about journaling, right? Journaling has become a huge part of my life. I use this to kind of just dump, and I use this to pray. I think it's one of the best tools you can have in your toolbox. If you do not like to write, that's where video journaling comes in, where you just make videos and you talk to yourself. If you do not like videos, you can also do voice recordings. Again, it is just for you to catch up with your brain. It is also a way for you to be able to kind of process your emotions, right? So if you don't want to write, if you don't want to make videos, you can do voice recording. I found worship helpful. And so that's an example. And then last thing I would say is therapy, coaching, if you can afford it. I know that these things are expensive, but I think that one of the biggest rewards here when it comes to therapy, which I'm going to read here, is that you're able to kind of question or know your triggers and question your thoughts. I think one of my favorite things about therapy or coaching is that it helps you it empowers you, because you are the one that has to come into this realization. Nobody's going to do the job for you. Most of the time, your therapist is not going to tell you what to do. You come into that, you have that ownership basically of, these are things, these are options I have. What do I choose, and what are the things that I think will be helpful for me? Okay, so that's all I have. I hope that this kind of pushes you to, first of all, evaluate where you are with your relationship with Christ, not even in a condemning way. I hope it builds some form of curiosity in having a little bit more personal relationship with Christ, a personal relationship with the Holy Spirit, and also just thinking like, what's in your toolbox? What are the healthy ways you cope, and what are the unhealthy ways that you cope, and how can you kind of, change things up a little bit. But I hope you guys enjoyed listening. I will talk to you guys soon. I love you so much. Bye.